Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Marvel Legends Series Hasbro Pulse exclusive VHS 2-pack of Spider-Man, the animated series, Green Goblin, and Mary Jane Watson. This is an exciting one for one reason, and that's the Mary Jane Watson figure. The Green Goblin is cool, it's pretty good, but we've had a couple of other Green Goblin figures in the past. So we had the one before, oh gosh, I want to say the Sandman Build-A-Figure wave. Was it Sandman? I think it was Sandman. And then we also had the Retro wave Green Goblin, which gave us a Norman Osborn, kind of the bright green and stuff. But this new Green Goblin figure is a mix-up of... Actually, well, it's just the torso pieces that are actually going to be the same. The hands are probably the same, but the gloves are actually different. The boots are different. The feet are probably the same. So there's actually not a lot of pieces that are actually reused when it comes to the Goblin piece. But the bag, the satchel, and the torso pieces are definitely reused, but you know, it's different arms and legs and boots and gloves and stuff like that. So you know, there's some new stuff going to it. The glider that we get this time is pretty cool. It's kind of the same, but it's got some, you know, retooling to it. It looks like, you know, the flight stand that we get with Marvel Legends stuff would work, but like these ball joints or these balls don't fit actually on that glider, so I tested it out and it wasn't really going to work, so I was a little disappointed in that. We get this Norman Osborn head sculpt that at certain angles looks pretty good, but then other angles I'm like, ooh, I don't know about that, but I guess it's decent. I don't know if he looked exactly like this in the show, but you know, I guess it's okay. So yeah, so Mary Jane is the highlight for me. That's the one that I really wanted. At San Diego Comic-Con, we got the last box set revealed, and that is the Smythe and the Peter Parker figure. It's Peter Parker in the coat and like the burgundy shirt version. I would have loved the polo, like the white, purple, green polo thing that he wears. But we didn't get that version of Peter Parker, which is okay, but I would have really loved to get that. But we got Aunt May, we got Mary Jane Watson, and we're getting a Peter Parker from Spider-Man, the animated series, which, you know, I absolutely love that we're getting that. I would have liked some other characters. Chameleon, what I think would have been one that really should have come in the VHS line, unless we get a retro card version of that Chameleon, that particular Chameleon with the belt buckle and everything. But we'll see. You know, it's a pretty good rounded out selection. You know, we got the Doc Ock, the Aunt May, the Mary Jane Watson, which is really cool. We get this Green Goblin, which is not bad. The Carnage and the Black Suit Spider-Man are they're kind of the weak links now when we look at, you know, these different VH1s, you know, the sets, and it's kind of like the safe bet, I would say, for Hasbro to have gone with these, because these probably would have sold decently to begin with on their own, but it doesn't give us kind of the unique characters and things and the feel that we really love from the animated series like some of these other figures do. But looking at the package, we get the standard VHS style packaging. You can see Green Goblin and Mary Jane Watson. Here on the side we get the 1 and 2, because it is as if it's like a 2-pack with Green Goblin facing off with Mary Jane Watson. We get the artwork there in the front. These are all done by Harry Moore, which is really cool. Looking at the back of the package, we just get some information. We see the two figures. It doesn't actually give you a breakdown in terms of the accessories. Green Goblin, you know, he comes with the Norman Osborn head sculpt. He's got the satchel. He's got the pumpkin bomb. He's got the glider. And that is it for him. And then Mary Jane actually comes with an extra set of hands. So out of the package, she has an open hand for her right. We get the open hand for the left. She has the fist on the left already, and then we get a fist for the right, and that's it for accessories. But the Mary Jane Watson figure is pretty awesome. The Green Goblin figure I am actually really liking. I'm just saying that it's probably the least needed out of the bunch, but the Goblin head sculpt is really, really nice, and I do like this particular version of the glider because it's purple. It's bigger than the Hobgoblin one, and it just, you know, screams animated series for me, which is cool. So let's get in for a closer look. We're going to take a look at Mary Jane first, because again, she is the highlight of the 2-pack. So we're going to take a look at her, and then we'll take a look at Norman Osborn and the Green Goblin. Okay, so here we have the Mary Jane Watson figure, and it is everything that I absolutely love about the Spider-Man animated series. She is exactly how she was in the animated cartoon, which I'm really loving that we actually got it Looks pretty good. The digital face print on Mary Jane looks nice. It's like a cell shading, but it's to kind of show that she has buttons there on her sweater. They're super off-centered, and I'm thinking that that's how they are supposed to be, unless mine were just kind of off, because they're not really at the buttons at all, as you could see there. But it looks pretty good. She is pinless at the knees, you could see there. The elbows are single jointed, so there wouldn't have been pins anyway. But she gets some crazy bend on those single jointed elbows. So it works out for a character like her. I don't mind it so much. Double jointed elbows are always the better way to go. But in this case, it works out quite well. She's got like these reddish brown cowboy boots on there. And those look pretty good. You actually get a swivel there. So yeah, this figure is the highlight for me, and it looks really good. I can't wait to get the Peter Parker figure, and we can have the whole family together, family-ish, right? Mary Jane, Aunt May, and Peter Parker. So now let's go ahead and move on into the Green Goblin figure. Okay, so here is the Green Goblin figure. This head sculpt is fantastic. I absolutely love the head sculpt. He's got the big hood that kind of is flowing out there. It's very thick, as you could see, but that face sculpt is just screaming animated series to me. It just looks fantastic. I absolutely love the way it came out. Now this collar piece, I was thinking, well, wouldn't that be when his mask is off? You know, he can't really have like hood down. So the way it kind of works is the whole thing is a mask, of course. But if you look at like the animated series and kind of how it looks, he kind of had the big collar piece there. So I think that's why they included to kind of make it as, you know, screen accurate as possible. Because there are some weird things about this. Like, why are his trunks a darker pink color? Like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, what the hell? But sure enough, it's like that in the animated show. Why? I have no idea, but it is. So it's kind of crazy. I don't mind the smooth look to it as opposed to like the scale, the chainmail, the scale look of the comic versions, because in the animated show, it's not like they drew out all the scales and everything like that. It was pretty smooth looking. You know, if they were to, you know, translate it true, it probably would be the scale, the chainmail one. But, you know, with that one, there's some limitations to the arms. There's some problems with the arms and then some problems with the legs of them breaking. So I think for this, it actually works. Like the Hobgoblin looks really cheap, but then this Green Goblin, the head sculpt just really makes up for the whole thing for me. And I think this actually works out really well. He's got the pointed boots, so his glider will actually stay on his feet, unlike the Hobgoblin one, which really had an issue like that as it falls off as I'm saying that it stays on the feet. You have to really kind of force it in, but it will stay, as you could see there. But yeah, he looks pretty good. To show you guys the kind of the comparisons real quick, you can see that the boots, you know, are different. Let me zoom in there. The gloves are different, and then the boots are different. He kind of has the more tattered look on these boots, but the feet are the same, as you can see there. And then the satchels are the same. Everything else is basically the same. We just get the different arms and legs. They are reused arms and legs, so that's why we have pins. But hey, green on green on green on green, so all good with me. So that is the Green Goblin, but that is not all, because we get the Norman Osborn head sculpt, which again, I can kind of see the, you know, the animated series Norman Osborn in there, but then it's like, there's some little funny to look into it. I think the promo images, his lips looked a lot redder. The good thing is, in the final product, it doesn't look so bad. The digital print came out looking really nice. We get a lot of shading on his cheekbones, under his eyes and stuff. It almost looks like blush, so to me, he kind of has a feminine look to him, but it's not as bad as, you know, what I had seen, I think, in the promo images. I'm trying to remember the promo images off the top of my head, but it's not as bad. But having it in hand, I'm like, I'm not going to display it with the Norman Osborn head sculpt anyway, but, you know, it's kind of funky. And then looking at his hair, he's got the waves in there. And then they actually have some red paint in there to kind of bring out the textures of his hair. You know, the previous version, the comic version, they just sculpted it in there. There wasn't any paint or anything like that. But here, it looks like it's actually a separate piece that was glued on. But they did add paint in there, so that looks pretty good. In terms of accessories, he does have a pumpkin bomb. We've seen these pumpkin bombs many times now, it seems. So it's just, you know, green translucent plastic with some orange paint for the pumpkin. Looking at the glider, here we have the glider. It is basically the same as the previous glider that we had gotten before, but it is purple, and then they did change out this faceplate version, so we get the animated series version in there, and that looks pretty good. You got some yellow in for the eyes. Check out the blast effect piece here. We get some like goldish yellow paint in there to kind of represent flame coming out of it, which we didn't get on any of the previous versions. As you can see, the gliders are the same, but if you look underneath, a little bit of a change up, so slight retooling on however that works, and we kind of get this ball peg spot right there, and I'm thinking, oh, that's going to be awesome, because then we're going to be able to use like these flight stands. This is the one that came specifically with the Hawkeye and Sky Cycle, so I'm thinking, oh, that's going to be great, it's going to work. You have a flight stand, and then it doesn't work. It is not big enough. I can't do it. If I force it, no, because I'm stressing out the plastic on the flight stand, so it doesn't work. I'm pretty bummed out about that, because I'm thinking, well, that's kind of awesome, but at the same time, you would have needed to have this flight stand. So maybe with the demo Goblin, I think it came with the same one, or if you have, you know, the Hawkeye with flight stand, and I think what other figure came with another one, I think, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. But that doesn't work, so that kind of sucks. So that's why I was using the Hasbro Pulse flight stand to make it look like Green Goblin was flying, because this thing, unfortunately, just doesn't work with that. So it's cool that they did that, but then it sucks because it's kind of useless. But yeah, was the same sculpt on the gliders. So there you have it. Now let's see their articulation. Okay, so we'll go quickly with Mary Jane. Mary Jane cannot look up because her hair is super long. That is going to be a problem. She can look down that much. It looks like her head is on a dumbbell joint. There is no hinge. You can do rotation in there. There's some pivot going on, but not a huge amount. The arm you can get to go up and out that much. You get a full rotation in that arm. There's a single jointed elbow, which gives us a swivel at that elbow as well. But you get just over 90 degrees on that bend with that elbow, which works out well. Wrists swivel, and they do hinge. They both have the horizontal hinge, the fist and the open hands, as well as the extra interchangeable hands that she comes with. She has a diaphragm cut, so she could tilt to her left that much, which is pretty good. She could tilt to her right that much, which is pretty good. She can go back that much, not too shabby. She can come forward very, very, very little, because that seems to be how all the diaphragm cuts seem to work with the Marvel Legends figures. Even worse when it comes to female figures. She has a swivel at that waist as well. Nothing going on, not at the waist, the diaphragm, nothing going on at the waist. Her legs go out that far apart. She can kick forward that far there, not too bad. Leg doesn't really go back. We have an upper thigh cut in there. Pinless double jointed knee, which has a beautiful bend there, as you can see. We actually do get a boot swivel in there, so that's somewhere inside of the boot. So nice swivel. Foot hinges all the way down, hinge up, ankle pivot, peg holes at the bottom of the feet for Mary Jane, so not too bad. Everything that we expect to see. Diaphragm is still limited, but she has pretty good movement otherwise. Here on the Green Goblin, this should all be kind of stuff that we see. I think these are like the Bucky cap arms and legs. But anyway, Norman Osborn can look up that much. Norman Osborn can look down that much. You get the full rotation in there. Not a whole lot of pivot going on with that head, but we're going to pop that sumbitch off, and we're going to put on the Green Goblin head sculpt, and we're going to see how much that moves around. Green Goblin head can look all the way up. Green Goblin head can look all the way down. Green Goblin head could go side to side, and he does not have any neck pivot, or he has very little. I didn't realize his ears are a little bit rubbery too, so that is kind of cool. The arms a little stiff at the shoulder, so you can get the arm to go out straight, pretty much to do like a T-pose. You get a full rotation in that arm. Upper bicep swivel, but fair warning, pretty damn gummy at that joint, pretty damn gummy at those elbows, so that sucks. So double jointed elbow gives us about a 90 degree. That's not a whole lot, but this glove portion actually hits the bicep, so it is pretty damn restrictive and lacking, limited. So wrists swivel, and they do hinge. We just have two open hands for the Goblin. There we have an ab crunch. Ooh, mine doesn't want to crunch. I feel like I'm going to break it. I don't want to break it. So he can only crunch forward that much. He can go back that much there. Yeah, I can't force it any more than that. So that's just not a whole lot. You get a waist swivel in there. Legs go out super far apart, though. Holy shit. I think that's like an update, because I don't remember them going that far apart before. And I think with like Bucky Cap legs, I always feel like the right leg is like longer or sits higher or something. I feel like he's always leaning to one side. But anyway, he can kick forward that much, which is really good. The leg goes back a little bit. Actually, we have an upper thigh cut in there. Double jointed pinned knees, because they are reused. But that much bend there. We get a boot swivel. Foot hinges down that much, which is pretty good. A little bit of hinge up, ankle pivot, peg holes at the bottom of the feet. So not bad on Goblin, but he can't use the ab crunch all that well. So you really have to kind of work how you're going to position him when it comes to like flight poses on the glider and things like that. But decent amount of articulation, or kind of what we expect with most Marvel Legends figures. Okay, so here is the Green Goblin comparison. So I had initially recorded this, or thought I recorded it. Apparently didn't. I had gone over it. So I'm trying to re-record it after I put everything away. So hopefully I'm not going over the glider twice. But anyway, the glider is essentially the same. We just get this front plate that is different there, and it's got the yellow in the eyes. Then we actually get a little bit of goldish, like spray yellow paint there on the back for the propeller, or the burst, the whatever that thing is called, the engine there. But it is the same glider. One added thing, as you could see there, is you kind of have this peg hole there, and I thought, well, that would be perfect for like the flight stands that come with like the Hawkeye Sky Cycle. Turns out that actually doesn't work. This hole is too small to work with those flight stands, so that is unfortunate. So that's why I had to end up using the Hasbro Pulse flight stand. If you have these work out quite well. Those flight stands that came with the Demo Goblin Build-A-Figure and the Hawkeye Sky Cycle, unfortunately does not work. So that is dumb. Anyway, that is the gliders. I love the purple. It really, truly screams animated series there, so I like that. But looking at the Goblin figures, as you can see, they are all kind of similar, but they are different. Like these two are very, very similar. They're essentially the same thing. We get the added collar piece that we do get now this time with this one. The belt is a little bit different. I didn't even realize that earlier. But this belt, you actually have a big gold buckle on it, whereas the other belts didn't really have a buckle. They just kind of, there's somewhat of a buckle. This one's got like the large, buckle there on the belt. And that is, one of the differences between there. The arms and legs are different. The gloves are actually different on the new Goblin, this new Green Goblin, as well. As you can see, the gloves, very different style gloves. And then the boots are different. They're similar, but they are different. We get this really tattered looking boot for the older versions, but the feet are actually the same, as you can see there. And then, similar colors, I guess, between this version of the Green Goblin. But we don't get the chainmail look, and I'm okay with that, again, because in the animated series they couldn't really get the chainmail, the scales to really look so much. In the animated series are very flat looking, so I'm okay with that. But this new Green Goblin actually might be my favorite, even though I do see that it is not truly necessary. But if we really want a Green Goblin for the animated series, it would be necessary. The head sculpt is just out of this world amazing. I absolutely love it. I think it is absolutely fantastic. Just perfect for the animated series. So for that, it makes it my favorite Green Goblin. But again, I can concede the point that it probably truly wasn't a necessary figure in the grand scheme of things. But I think it was a very safe bet to release a Green Goblin in the VHS line, because I think it'll guarantee that it'll sell pretty well. I would hope that Mary Jane Watson could sell well on its own. Maybe, I don't know, but it does come with a nice heavy hitter to be able to move that 2-pack. It seems like I'm always forgetting something and having to go back and record one little bit before I begin the editing process. So this might be placed a little bit odd. My apologies. I know I do that quite often. But I wanted to show a comparison between this animated series Mary Jane Watson and a comic Mary Jane Watson figure. So here we have the Mary Jane Watson that was kind of a kit bash, because this is the body that came in the Toys R Us exclusive 2-pack with the all-new, all-different Spider-Man armor Mark 4, Mark 3, Mark 4. I think it was the Mark 4, but it was the all-new, all-different Spider-Man. We got it unmasked Peter Parker head sculpt with that one. But this is actually the Mary Jane head sculpt that came in the Gwen Stacy retro card pack, because this head is just much better for Mary Jane, because it's actually made for Mary Jane as opposed to just being a repainted Black Widow figure. But I'm trying to think which Black Widow did the Black Widow or the Mary Jane figure come first? And now I can't think about which one was actually first. But anyway, this one is a dedicated head sculpt for the Mary Jane. So you have the two versions there. You can see the comic is much taller, but I am just absolutely in love with the animated series Mary Jane Watson. Okay, so for our VHS 2-packs for Spider-Man the Animated Series, all exclusive to Hasbro Pulse, and I think Shop Disney, it's very confusing on how that works. Shop Disney no longer does pre-orders. They will list something when it becomes in stock. I don't know if they've gotten the Spider-Man ones or not. They did get the X-Men ones, but now X-Men ones seem to be available like through fan channels and stuff. No word on if the Spider-Man ones will do that. I don't think any of them have sold out or anything like that, but I think it's a pretty well-rounded program, with the highlights being, of course, the MJ and the Doc Ock. To me, the Carnage and the Black Suit Spider-Man are cool, sure. We've had multiple Carnages before, but we do get it now on like a Spider-Man 2099 body, but the Absolute Carnage figure was a really good figure. Like, we didn't need another Carnage after that. The Black Suit Spider-Man, you know, it's got the cell shading. Like, none of the other ones have the cell shading from the VHS packs, so it's kind of weird that this one did. I mean, we did get the Walmart exclusive retro card Spider-Man that did have the cell shading that is for the Spider-Man the Animated Series, but this body does not match this body, so those Spider-Mans don't really work together. As you can see, there is a huge size difference between the two. If we look at Mary Jane and Spider-Man, I honestly don't remember what their size difference was in the cartoon, but here I'm thinking these two probably look a little bit better, but this one's a fairly thin, like he was kind of bulky in the show. Like, this one's probably the better fits, even though he's really tall. So this one should have been like this body, or this one should have been that body, and it all makes sense all around, or however they do it. It's all pretty weird. But those are the VHS Spider-Man figures. So the Doc Ock, I think, is an absolute must-have, and it's cool. You get Aunt May. The Mary Jane, I think, is an absolute must-have. The Spider-Man Carnage one is the easy pass. And then Smythe, because we don't have a Smythe figure. I always wanted the Smythe figure from the Toy Biz line back in the day. I don't think I ever got the Smythe figure, so I finally will, as an adult, damn near close to 40, and finally getting it. And then we'll get Peter Parker from the animated series. Not exactly the look I want, but pretty cool, and we can have them all together. I think it works out pretty well. I think it's a decent, well-rounded program. You guys let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below. If they were to continue with the VHS line for Spider-Man, say one more pack, which figures would you guys like to see? I would love to see a Chameleon figure. And then for another figure, because we already got the Peter Parker, not quite the one I want, but if I were to get another figure, I'd probably need to put a little bit more thought into that. There's a lot that I would really love to get. I'd love to get Blade from the show. I'd love to get the Nick Fury from the show. I would love to get the Punisher in the trench coat with the blue suit. Those would be freaking awesome. But unfortunately, we don't. A Morbius would be cool. The Young Vulture would be cool. Damn. Man Spider would be awesome. So many figures that I would love to get in the Spider-Man the Animated Series, but it seems that the program will be done for now. Maybe they will revisit it in the future. Who knows? But for now, these are all the ones that we have. There's also the Venom that I didn't bring out. That was the PulseCon exclusive. But you guys let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think of the Spider-Man the Animated Series VHS figures? What do you think of this MJ, Mary Jane Watson, and the Norman Osborn Green Goblin figures specifically, since this was the review for them? I think it's a great pickup to get that Mary Jane. The Goblin is nice. The head sculpt, again, amazing head sculpt. Really, really like it. You guys let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hit that join button to become a channel member and be a part of the MCU Collective. Your support is much appreciated. And as always, thank you for watching.